Welcome to the Tabletop Empire. My name is Nate, and today we're diving back into the Genesys Beginner's Guide series with Chapter 2, Character Creation. This will be a comprehensive guide and should give GMs and players all the information they need to build their perfect character. This video is once again sponsored by our merch. Head over to thetabletopempire.com and use Genesys for 10% off your entire order. Hurry, because this code only lasts for another few days. Also, each purchase directly funds our channel live play campaign happening this January, and it makes a monumental difference in helping that get off the ground. So on to the video. One thing to note, if you are coming from Star Wars RPG or D&D, Genesys as a rules and character system is going to feel a lot lighter. The game provides a lot of examples and default options, but depending on the setting you're playing in, the GM and the player can tweak things and homebrew certain elements, and this system makes it incredibly easy to do so. For this reason, it's important that a player has the idea for their character prior to starting to build the character. So with that said, step one is going to be determining your character's background. There are not any real rules to this section. This is just the part where you determine what your character is going to be like and their background for why the way they are, and who they become. The backstory will inform you on how to build your character. So for example, if your character is from nobility and maybe spent all their time reading instead of practicing their swordplay, the character you build would reflect that. Keep in mind that a character's background doesn't need to dictate all of the stats or talents you have, and it's more there for your character's personality and mindset. The book does have a list of questions on page 35 that can help assist you with creating your character's background if needed. Step 2 in character creation is going to be select archetype or species, and this is where we're going to start filling out the character sheet. This part's also going to be a little bit more abstract than your typical Star Wars RPG or D&D experience. There are 4 archetypes found in this section of the book: an average human, the laborer, the intellectual, and the aristocrat. Each one have some varying starting stats and skills, and these are just 4 default options that you can plug and play pretty much into any setting, and you can change certain aspects of them based on the character you're trying to build. The book does have more archetype options for various different settings though. These settings are fantasy, steampunk, weird war, modern day, science fiction, and space opera, and you can find these settings starting at page 136 in the book. What I would recommend is, if there is a setting that is most similar to the one you're running, try to see if there's an archetype that's similar or fits what you want, and then you can tweak it to meet your needs. So to start, write down the archetype's characteristics. This could change later, so if you're using a physical sheet, use a pencil and write lightly so you can erase it. I'm going to use the intellectual archetype as the example as we go along. For starting thresholds, brawn is always tied to wounds and willpower is always tied to strain. So in the box, write whatever the number being added is. So this is intellectual. I'm going to write 8 in the wounds and 12 in the strain thresholds for now. Again, the characteristics can change by the end of character creation, so we're going to update this number to be the final number towards the end. Starting experience is 100, and intellectual starts with 1 rank in knowledge and gains the talent brilliant. For the intellectual, this means that once per session, they can spend a story point as an incidental, so pretty much for no cost during combat. The next check they make during that turn, you can count their ranks in that skill being used as equal to their intellect. When you're homebrewing something more specific for your character, you can change the characteristic numbers, threshold numbers, and even mess with the talent to maybe like use cunning instead of intellect. Players and GMs, again, will need to work together to find something that's fair and balanced while still building to the character idea that you want. Next step is step 3, choose a career. Again, this system is built to let you build a little free form, but there are options available if a player requires a little more structure or needs an example to build off of. For my intellect character, I'm going to choose the healer career. Note that there are both role-based careers such as soldier, healer, and socialite, as well as setting-based careers like mad scientist, wizard, knight, etc. For healer, I'm going to look at the career skills I have, and I'm going to mark my character sheet to note which are my career skills, and then I can take 1 free rank and 4 of them. If I were making my own career, then I would just pick 8 skills I think best match the career idea, not just pick the ones I want most, and then take 1 rank and 4 of them as usual. Step 4 is spending experience points. The amount you have to spend here is determined by the starting experience of your archetype. You can spend XP on a few different things: improving your characteristics, ranking up skills, and acquiring talents. Characteristics are your brawn, agility, etc., and these can only be upgraded with XP during character creation. So with that in mind, I generally recommend spending as much XP as possible on your characteristics, since it affects all your roles in the game. These will cost 10 times the number you're increasing to, and you have to increase them sequentially. So to go from 2 to 3 is 30 XP, to go from 3 to 4 is 40 XP, so to go from 2 to 4 would be 70 XP. Note, you cannot go above a 5 during character creation. You can also rank up skills, so your athletics, stealth, etc. Non-career skills cost cost 10 XP for rank 1, 15 for rank 2, 20, 25, 30. Your career skills are a little bit cheaper, so they're going to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Again, you cannot skip over ranks and you have to buy each one sequentially. Last but not least are talents. The game has what's called a talent pyramid. Talents are not tied to your career or class in this game, and there are no pre-made trees. The book has a list of talents ranging in tiers 1 through 5. A tier 1 talent costs 5 XP, tier 2 costs 10, 3 is 15, 4 is 20, 5 is 25 XP. It is a pyramid because you must own more ranks than the previous rank before you can buy the next rank. Confusing, let me show you. So you need 2 rank 1s to get a rank 2. You need another tier 1 before you can get another tier 2. You need 2 tier 2s before you can get 1 tier 3, and so on and so forth. You can find all of these available talents starting at page 71 in your cool rulebook. So for my intellect, we had 100 starting XP. We're going to go from intellect 3 to 5, so this costs 40 plus 50, so that's 90 in total. And then the remaining 10 XP I'm going to use to buy 2 talents. Step 5 is determine your derived attributes. Wound threshold is pretty much going to be your physical health bar, though we're going to go more into detail on damage and healing later in the series. Set this number to your brawn rating plus the number we wrote down earlier. Strength threshold is going to be your mental health bar. Add your current willpower rating to the number we wrote down for that. Your soak is going to be flat damage reduction, and that's equal to your brawn rating plus any you may get from talents or gear. For now, I'll just set it to whatever your bronze value is. Defense makes you harder to hit, so each point of defense will add 1 setback dice to enemy attack rolls when attacked by either melee or ranged attacks. For now, your character should have 0 defense. Step 6 is motivation. This is very important as it's what motivates your character forward. Every character needs a good goal or something to work towards. The game has motivation split up into desires, fears, strengths, and flaws, along with examples for each. Feel free to make up your own though with the GM if you want to. Desires are the closest thing we think when we hear motivation. So what does your character want to achieve? Fears are going to be what your character dreads, and playing around a fear can be something that's explored in the narrative and can create amazing roleplay moments and challenging encounters. Strength is going to be what your character is best at. Flaw is going to be that element of themselves they're not proud of, and if someone were to say, Bob is a great person, but that but is the flaw. Motivations can change as a campaign goes on, so maybe you conquered a fear and it no longer haunts you, or maybe you achieved that desire but it wasn't really what you really wanted. These can happen slowly over time or in a single dramatic moment, and either way you should just write down a new desire, fear, strength, or flaw in its place. Motivations can be shared or kept secret from your other party members, and that is up to the player. Last but not least is gear, appearance, and personality. Appearance and personality are just for like the player's narrative purposes. They're not tied to any rules. Starting gear is going to be determined by the game setting, but generally each player is given a starting allowance of 500 currency. You can find the gear starting on page 82 in the book and in the settings section on page 136 if you want more like specific setting related gear. You can also change some of the gear narratively to fit the setting you're playing if the setting is not included in the book. After you spend your money on gear, you roll 1d100 and add that much currency to whatever was not spent, and that's kind of like your starting pocket change for when the game actually starts. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I will do my best to answer, and if this video was helpful, please do me a favor and blast the like button and subscribe. It's free and it helps me out greatly. Also, a huge thanks to the Patreon supporters. You all are super appreciated. Also, all Patreon supporters, you get 15% off the merch store at all times. I posted a code to the Patreon page, so go check that out. But I will see you guys all in the next video. Thank you for watching. Until then, and as always, may the Force be with you.